My name is Riaz, and the topic of my presentation is Ecolinguistics, Islam, the Green Religion, and Foundations of Ecosophy. Human beings, no doubt, have dominated the planet Earth and are striving to go beyond the Earth. But this unchecked race to material progress has had an adverse impact on the ecosystem and other species living on the only habitat in the known multiverse. The ecological equilibrium is at stake, and if timely action is not taken, it might catapult material prosperity into an abyss of climate crisis, endangering all life on Earth. The surest way to ensure an everlasting place on our home planet can be ensured by taking a volte-face on our approach to non-human beings and the environment, and by adopting a more inclusive approach. This new approach will result in new discourse that can spread awareness and contribute towards building a more sustainable ecosystem for all living and non-living components of the system. This study aims to bring back to life the forgotten lessons of the religion of Islam and the teachings of the Prophet, peace be upon him, about animals, birds, trees, and plants. To present the present study employs the concept of an ecosophy or eco-philosophy from Naess 1995 in combination with Aaron Stibbe's 2015 framework based on ecolinguistics, language, ecology, and the stories we live by. The content analysis technique is used for analysis. The findings reveal that Islam not only laid emphasis on treating the animals and birds kindly, but also the stress preserving the environment by taking care of it. Thus, the origin of ecosophy can be traced to the teachings of Islam, which justifies the claim that Islam is the green religion. Islam is the first green religion, as it teaches its followers compassionate and affectionate behavior towards other species and preservation of the environment. The present study employs framing as the primary tool and is elucidated in the next points of the discussion. The technique of content analysis is employed to identify target words, which later on are used to recognize frames. So, first thing, Islam is a complete code of life. Islam includes everything. Islam does not exclude anything. It is for everyone and for everything. So, Islam teaches its followers kindness, compassion to other beings and the environment as well. And this can be seen in the life of the Holy Prophet, ahadith, and verses of the Quran. So these are the sources. In Islam, human beings, birds, trees, plants, and every creature has value, and everything has its rights and value. We cannot say that birds or animals or anything, any other thing is valueless or it has zero value, no value. So any transgression or violation of their rights have been forbidden in Islam. And Islam preaches rationality, moderation, and balance. So we can see from the sources of Islam, that is Quran, life of the Prophet, and Ahadith, that Islam emphasizes on treating animals, environment, birds, plants, and we are responsible for it because in the Quran, Surah Baqarah, God says, "Inni ja'il fil arzi khalifa." So man has been made Khalifa or Caliph. So what is the meaning of Caliph? It means the person who is responsible for the well-being of all those who are with him or who are his responsibility. So we are responsible for everything and everyone around us because God has made us responsible for these things. The field of ecolinguistics is new. In the 1990s, it was born, and it was actually reaction to uh, anthropocentrism. Anthropocentrism is the approach in which human beings or man is the center of the whole story, and that is creating a problem because the ecosystem is overburdened because of this. And in order to protect or make it more sustainable, we have to change the story because the earth cannot bear the burden of our stories. And now the stories need to be changed. Aaron Stibbe is the loudest voice nowadays, who is, among others, of course. And he has written a book, Stories We Live By. And in through these books, he has proved that we are not including animals, birds, plants, like the whole ecosystem is being disturbed because of our anthropocentric approach. And what we need is new stories. That is ecosophy. That we need ecocentric approach, or we need an approach that is based on kindness and compassion, or we need to reevaluate, rewrite, and reconstruct the stories. So, research questions which I have made, they are: number one, the origin of ecosophy. How does ecosophy originate? And second point, second question: what makes Islam the green religion? And is Islam ecocentric, or is Islam ecocentric religion, or does Islam endorse ecocentric approach? And there are some other questions as well. And so, objective is: number one, origin of philosophy; number two, to investigate the authenticity of the claim that Islam is the green religion. So, this research is significant because it aims to bring to light the teachings, the true teachings of Islam, and to show the world, or to tell people that Islam has an approach that's based on inclusiveness, and it is not based on exclusion. Literature review, well, the most important source that I have studied is Aaron Stibbe. Stibbe has presented his work in the form of stories, and those stories are stories of industrialism, progress, prosperity, materialism, industrialism, consumerism, and all those stories that contribute towards making man as the center of the universe, or the story of life, or the narrative of life. And it shows that we are on a collision course with nature, and our stories are contributing towards the destruction of the earth or the ecosystem. And that could be dangerous for all life. So we need to change stories, and we have to make new stories. And these new stories could be made such a way that these stories make life a peaceful place for all, and a suitable place for all living beings, and also the environment. So, framing is a technique that is used to create stories for people to understand ecology. And the way those stories have been structured, there is some problem in them, and we need to now replace those stories so that those problems are overcome. And because some of the stories present animals as evil, others they present them as they are made for human beings to be used. So we have to reshape those and redefine those stories. Method was mixed method research based on Stibbe's framework framing, and then applied in ecolinguistics. It has framing has two techniques. Number one, what it is, and number two, what to look for. What it is means the packet of knowledge, and what to look for is the trigger words that bring particular source frame to our mind. And data analysis through hadith, Quranic verses, and life of the Holy Prophet, uh, material was selected, and findings were. This analysis reveals different frames. So findings can be through frames. I can tell some of them. Number one, animals are presented, birds are presented as communities. In the verse in Surah Al-Anam, God says, "We have there is not a moving living creature. There's not a moving or living creature on earth, not a bird that flies with its two wings, but are communities like you. We have neglected nothing in the book. Then unto their Lord they shall be gathered." Surah Al-Anam. So here, if you look at it, God uses, or Islam presents these animals, these birds, as communities. And as communities, it means they are valuable. They have their own life system. They have their own system of cooperation, sharing, and living. So they are communities. So they are valuable. Animals are also used as signs, as in another place in the Holy Quran it says, not look at the camels, how are they created. So here, camels, the way camels are created, it's a sign for us to learn. So lesson for us. Similarly, Quran actually forbids human action which may lead harm to those animals. And we should not overburden them. We should try to be kind to them. So Quran establishes the rights of animals as well, recognizes the rights of animals as well. Similarly, earth is home to all. Surah Rahman, God says He set it down for all beings. So you have seen that there are different frames, and through these frames we can say that all animals, birds, they are not just valueless creatures, but they are valuable, and they have their own system of living, and they have proper developed communities. So the Quran and Islamic teachings, they make them valuable. They recognize their rights as well. So framing is an if discussion. Framing is an effective technique to decode codes in the text in a text, and this study identified frames, animals as communities, animals have rights, animals as signs. So in this way, these frames identify animals, birds, and other creatures as souls, as living beings, and they also have their rights, which we should consider. And all species have their own way of living as well, because if they are communities, then they do have their own way of living. Similarly, Islam shows that animals are not just for food or for other purposes. Animals serve as signs to us as well. So we can learn a lot from them as well. There is a professor, Sayyid Hussain Nasr, a professor of Islamic studies at George Washington University, and he says that Islam supports environment preservation, and that's why it should be termed as the green village. He encourages Islamic governments to put the agenda of environment first. He says that Quran address not only human beings but also the cosmos. It must be easier to be able to develop an environment philosophy. Birds are called communities in the Quran, so it's easy to develop an authentic Islamic philosophy of the environment. And that is what Nasser says. He also says human beings cannot be happy without happiness of the rest of creation. And he says we have killed enough, massacred enough of God's other creatures. And so Nasser noted that, according to him, God is nature and the environment, and every creature has its rights independent of humans. So that's why we should be careful. Stibbe 2015 urges to analyze the stories and identify flaws in these stories that we are told. So the stories created by humans need to be restructured. We need to change them the way uh, they are told. So we have to make those new stories, and they should be free of prejudice and negative attitude towards other non-human creatures and components of the ecosystem. And in the end, I would like to share one incident that was Splash Sparrow campaign, in which China thought that sparrows they eat a lot of grains, so they should be killed to save the grains. So what they did, they started a campaign, and all sparrows were killed. And all the sparrows were killed. Then the next year, there was famine because there were no sparrows. Sparrows used to pick grain, but at the same time, they used to eat harmful insects as well. But as there were no sparrows to eat harmful insects, so what happened? Those insects destroyed the crops, and then next in like the following years, millions of people were killed. So Smash Sparrow campaign is a lesson for us that other species, other animals, other components of the environment are equally important, and we should value them. We should not feel as if they are burden on us or as if they are harmful for us. No, they are here to support us, and we should also be. So we should follow the approach that is not competitive, that is not based on competition, but cooperation and sharing. That is the only way forward. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. thank you for listening.